What do you want from me? I'm just blood and flesh and bones. I'm not an answer.
Welcome to Mildly Entertaining at UNCW, the show where the Office of Military Affairs keeps you mildly entertained and more or less up to date on what's going on at UNCW. Your hosts are Joanna DeMott, the Military Liaison and Program Coordinator, and Melanie Nelson, the Military Student Services Specialist. Hi, Joanna. It looks like the sun is shining. How are you today?
You know, I'm great. You probably guessed that. I'm great as usual. It is a beautiful day. I have a presentation later where I get to inform some military spouses on career and education opportunities, and that always makes me happy. So I actually put on a little mascara and did my hair for the first time in several months. So it's a great day. How are you today?
I'm wonderful today because the sun is shining and I got outside and I got some actual sunshine on my person, which is very, very important. Why don't you find out how our guest is doing?
I'm super excited today. We have Alyssa Wharton, the Digital Makerspace Coordinator here at UNCW. How are you today, Alyssa?
I'm good. I cannot complain.
I am so excited to have you here. There is so much that you do that I had no idea about, and we're super excited to hear about it. Your work situation, you're now in, our listeners can't see you, but you are in a castle. It's a little different than your normal working environment at UNCW, I'm assuming.
Yes, this is actually my house. I live in a castle, so it's pretty nice. I can't complain. I'm just trying to get as much as I can done while at home in my castle, unfortunately away from my precious makerspace.
I'm pretty impressed with that. I think if I had a castle, I would find it really difficult to work in an office as well. But we're pretty excited to have you here today to learn more about, the Digital Makerspace at UNCW, but also about what you do for us. And Melanie has some really cool questions for you.
I do. I have some very exciting, very hard-hitting questions for you. So question number one is, what are you snacking on these days? So you're in a castle, which means that there could be all kinds of snacking opportunities of which I have been previously unaware. And I think we really need to dig in deep to this and find out what you're snacking on in your castle.
Well, I actually have been cooking a ton, and my pants hate me for it, but giving them a little stretch. But I made some flourless chocolate torte. I can't eat gluten. It's pretty bad for me. But so I made some of that. I make this fantastic slow cooked chicken roast in my crock pot. I found some great bread recipes, and of course my famous cookies are always on the menu if I feel like making them. So I'm baking a lot, I'm cooking a lot. We've made chicken tikka masala from a box the other night, which was very adventurous because it's from a box. So that was quite exotic. Ooh.
Unfamiliar boxed spice packages can be very exotic and very strange and very wonderful as well. We just know it's an adventure every time. You just don't know what someone else has decided to include in that box.
Yeah, I just try to throw in a few extra things because I feel like I'm not making it if it's from a box. So
there's a whole thing about packaged food products when they were first developed back in the early part of mid part of the last century. I read somewhere that they were trying to come up with the pudding mix, the instant pudding and instant jello. And they were like, no, food scientists, you can't use the things that will actually make it instant because then the housewives won't feel like they can cook it like they're actually cooking it. And they finally figured out that's why your box brownie mix still requires you to crack an egg into it, because that way you still feel like you're legitimately cooking, whether you're a housewife or not. Lots of people like to make box brownies, whatever. But that's why you still have to crack an egg, even though they could probably do some sort of dehydrated eggy product thingy magic that would make it work without it.
Wow, I guess those expert marketing teams were really onto it.
they really did a good job. I mean, it's true. You crack that egg and you feel like, I've done something and now I have to wash my hands again. It's so annoying. They could have left out something else. I don't know what, but like, and I'm not a food scientist. Maybe we need to interview a food scientist for this show. I don't know. But so it sounds like you're doing a lot of like home preparation type snacking. And with your limitations, it sounds like you've had to kind of get creative about different ways to snack. Would you say that you're more like eating dedicated meals, or are you sort of grazing throughout the day?
I am a big grazer. My partner at home likes to eat meals, so that's where we butt heads, but that's really the only time. I like to just kind of have a little bit of something in between tasks, or just kind of float in between. So it could be, something small, or it could be, something larger. It just depends on the day and what's going on, what we're cooking.
Isn't it interesting how you probably, when you're actually at work, you have like all your food habits and your snacking habits set up, and like your coworkers at work don't really care, but when your coworker is suddenly your partner because you're both stuck at home, then all of a sudden everybody cares way more. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a thing. Okay, so we've established that you have some good intentions around snacking and eating, and we're happy to hear that. The next question is this. Obviously, you've been teaching some classes on Zoom, and probably just like the rest of us have been having meetings on Zoom. What are your pet peeves these days on Zoom?
I don't really have too many complaints. I'm just kind of glad that people show up. I'll try to get more classes and stuff, but I'm really just kind of glad people are taking to it. Some folks have issues with learning the ropes, but I think everybody's really caught on, and I'm just kind of glad that it's been kind of a smooth process. If people do have issues or questions, I mean, they can always reach out to me, but other than that, no big complaints.
That's actually very good to hear. We've heard the whole gamut of pet peeves, so it's nice to hear that there is an end of the spectrum where people are just happy to have the tool and happy to use it. Thanks for injecting that positivity. Normally, we don't want people to go down the positive road here. We're really looking for the dirt on like people's bad behavior on Zoom, but it's totally fine if you're the person who doesn't have that dirt. We can live with that. Final question from my end for you. If you had to telework for the rest of your career, what would be the most important things for you to keep in mind?
Actually, well, a long time ago, I was freelancing, and I was juggling multiple jobs, but freelancing is a lot like teleworking, where you do have like a home office and you are working and making things. So just maintaining that schedule and sticking to that schedule is very, very important. People have a tendency when they're at home, they get into the home mindset, they're comfortable, they're like, oh, hey, I can lounge around and stuff. And that mentality can lead you astray on like whatever you're doing. So just having that schedule and that routine or the structure and sticking to it, which is always a challenge regardless, because you're at home, it's like your fun space, but mixing that with work, you want to make sure that you have that structure. So that's what I really try to do, and trying to bring that back after years.
Flexing those work from home muscles again after a long time away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. It's always nice to hear from people who have previous experience in the telework world, especially, I mean, you run the Digital Makerspace, so it seems like you'd be somebody who is really good at creating a digital space to work in, like a whole environment that supports that. So it's just nice to hear that it is possible, and that if we do, flex in and out of telework anytime in the immediate future, that we'll be able to get back into a groove pretty easily. All right, well, thank you for sharing all of that information with us. Now that we sort of have a picture of what your work from home life is like and how you're doing your work, I'm gonna hand you back over to Joanna, and she's got a few more questions, more specifically about your work.
Thanks, Melanie. Alyssa, you have a fun way of instructing. I really enjoyed Spider-Man in your intro to video editing course, and I've used Canva now a couple times, and it's a lot of fun and has some really wonderful templates, no reason to recreate the wheel. So I've learned a lot from your courses. How do you decide how to design your courses?
So, first off, I like to think about it in aspects of fun. A lot of times when I very first got into teaching back at my previous institution, I was winging it. And it turned out that and what I was doing was really working for me. So I still like to bring in some structure and practice. So having consistent themes or consistent things and using a lot of humor, not holding back with little snarky comments about like the subject matter is really important because it helps people keep engaged. And that engagement is what's going to help people remember, oh, hey, I have to, right click this in order to do X, Y, and Z. So I was really kind of trying to figure out what's the best way that I can get people to remember this information. And it's from using really wild, like crazy subject media. So we did, with one Canva workshop I did way back in the day, we were talking about like beverages for breakfast and what like swapping around between like milk, orange juice, and apple juice. And I was like, well, and I was starting to lose my audience. So I was like, all right, I need to shake things up. And I did something completely crazy. And I was like, well, in order to change our text, what we're going to do is click on the textbooks. We're going to change this from apple juice to, let's say, the blood of my enemies. So, and keeping it very like straight faced and saying these types of things that were just completely out of left field, kind of was like, people were like, wait, did they really just say that? And continuing on with the workshop is really kind of how I got into doing that and increasing that. So while I am very much more prepared now with my workshops and doing consistent things, I'm finding little fun things to kind of put into them and make them a little more professional, a little more concise, as well as more prepared for the presentation.
It was really fun. They are really fun. So if you ever get a chance, take the courses. They're fun. What do you think your favorite part of what you do is?
I really like, there's so many favorite parts. I can't have just one favorite part. I really enjoy makerspaces. I got into this as a student, and I was a student employee, and my previous institution liked me so much they kept me around, and I really enjoyed everything, just the opportunity to not only explore all of these new technologies that were coming in and being able to help people learn about them and see them get excited with me for it was really just, it was what really got me into it. And being able to share that with people and to create alongside of them as they're working on their projects, or being able to have like an opportunity for myself to create in the space to help promote the makerspace, or to do events, or to collaborate with people from all different backgrounds and all different disciplines is really one of my like favorite things. There's so many favorite parts of it, and I also work with really phenomenal people that want to continue to support me and make the whole goal of the makerspace happen. So that includes more online resources in the future. But yeah.
That's great. I love to hear your passion about what you do. It's pretty amazing to find somebody so enthralled with their job and the possibilities that are associated with that. Are there any misconceptions about the digital makerspace, or is there anything you'd like our listeners to know about what you do, or about what the digital makerspace has to offer?
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions. Well, I don't know if I'd call them misconceptions. It's just more people don't feel comfortable coming into the space. And before all this mess happened, we were like, hey, come on into the space. We'd be beckoning people. People would be looking through the glass walls. For those who are listening who don't know, the Digital Makerspace is this giant glass box towards the rear of the library that people would pass on the way to TAG. but we want people to come in and look at the technology. And for me, when we'd have small kids that come in with their field trips, and the like chaperones would be like, don't touch anything, and I'm like, no, you can touch everything that doesn't move. So I want people to come in. I want people to ask questions. Obviously, that's going to be a bit difficult as we start to return to, quote, normal, but I'm hoping that we can get to that point eventually where people can come in freely again. I want to encourage people to make appointments, but we're not just doing things like VR and 3D printing. We're trying to introduce and make these technologies accessible. So not only that, but we are getting some new equipment in, hopefully that will be available to the UNCW community to check out eventually. Things like a portable green screen, a 360 camera to create homegrown 360 experiences, or to assist them with their class projects or with their research. All of these aspects, we want to encourage people to please come use us, come talk to us. I also want to add that we help consult people and teach different software. So it's not just these Zoom workshops on Dare to Learn, but if you just want to walk in or make an appointment to have a consultation to learn something like Photoshop, just as an additional skill on your resume, or if you just want to make a really funny Photoshop meme of like your best friend's face on an ice cream cone, we could probably do that. So these are all these things, you know, I'm not going to discriminate with what type of project you bring in. I just want to be happy to help you learn all of these different things. And if there is a software that I might not know or that we need to learn, we can sit down and learn it together.
That's really cool. I brought the boys in last summer for a little field trip into VR land, and that really excited a passion in our middle boy to ask for that for Christmas. So you are the reason that we have VR in our game room. So thank you for that. But I mean, it was fun. And I didn't know that, you know, as a parent, I could just, you know, sign in and my kids could come play with the VR or come learn something new. So that's really cool. I like it. It's bringing your personal and professional lives together and making it fun. So this has been a lot, it's been a lot of fun interviewing you, Alyssa, and I just want to thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I want everyone to know that even if they aren't part of the UNCW community, they could still reach out to me and we can see how we can help them with pretty much anything. If they want to learn more about this technology, we want to be there to help them.
That is amazing, and we'll be sharing this in our future weekly update emails. I heard a couple of keywords. I heard 360-degree camera, and I heard green screen, and I'm already like ticking off a list of ways that I could make use of either one of those, or both at the same time. We don't know yet. Can you use both at the same time? I have questions, and I will be in touch. That's what I have to say here. It is amazing to work to meet so many people through this podcast where their personal passions and their work passions and all of their skills and talents are coming together for them to create a space like this one. So for you to create this makerspace and then to offer that and expand it beyond the walls of the UNCW community out into everybody else who may or may not be listening to this podcast. Hello, our 3.5 listeners and 1 subscriber. We're so happy to have you here. That's just really cool. So I'm so thankful that you were able to come join us today. And this has been an episode of Mildly Entertaining at UNCW, and we will see you on the internet.
Thank you for listening to Mildly Entertaining. Our intro music comes from the band Blue Turnip and their song, What Do You Want From Me? You can find their EP Songs from the Root Cellar on Bandcamp, iTunes, Amazon, and Spotify. For more information, you can go to blueturnipmusic.com.